Oh.
Wow. Okay, we're going live right as Jeff took off to piss. I'll set this up. We're gonna do a quick NAFCO special here, real quick. We got it's about a 10-minute episode here. We're gonna react to the Bill Belichick back on September 17th. A Boston Globe reporter asked Bill Belichick one question, and a man that's been just salty as the Caspian Sea just like opened up all of a sudden.
Okay.
Belichick says about nothing. All of a sudden, he opens up and starts talking because they hit his interest level. The only time probably ever in the history of a man over 20, 30-year career. What, Paul?
What we want to know is, did Robert Kraft get a hand job at that massage place in Jupiter, Florida?
That's what. You want to know about that? What do you want to know about?
We pay, and was she attractive? We want to know that. That's what I want to know about Patriots. That's pretty much it.
That's your okay.
It's just saying. Really, that's the cutting edge.
Well, it would help if we could see your face, Paul. Move over to the right or left or something. Center yourself a little bit there, Paul. Nobody can see your face.
We're not running yet.
Okay. Well, we are. Because Jeff got up as soon as I started the cast. It was like, Jeff, that was too late, man. I hit go. I said, we're going live. And he's like, I gotta pee. Okay.
I don't know what to do.
Okay, so we've been live this whole time because I hit go.
I know the captain of the Jupiter Police that busted Kraft. Okay.
All right. That is really okay. So we're talking about Belichick here, as Belichick would say. We're talking about that this week. We're talking about next week. We're talking about next week. I got the Jets. Anyway, so this is September 17th. We're going back to that because it was the one moment where the man actually opened up to anything. So
yeah, you're protecting him.
So just react. I want you guys. Okay. I want to hear what you guys have to say. This is an AFC show. We'll see here.
Hey, good morning, Brian.
We could talk during it.
A little out of left field. It's about roster building and not having to do with the game this week, but it's something I've been thinking about for a while, and it's about long snapping actually. And I was just kind of wondering, and this is with all due respect to Joe Cardona and all the fine long snappers out there, but is long snapping that difficult that you need to use a roster on one player who does only?
Oh, that's in the cast. Okay.
Can't you just cross-train a few guys to do long snapping and then use?
The cool thing he did was 2020 draft.
Yeah, well, Ben, it's an.
So okay. So the question is asked though. What he asks is, do we need to have multiple Do we need to have multiple roster spots, like a full roster spot set aside for a long snapper, or can we just cross train somebody to do that as well as that, and that thus free up roster locations? Maybe have an extra defensive player, something like that. He doesn't go into the detail where you'd put that spot, but that's what he asked. And Belichick, it's like a switch is flipped, and check it out.
Conversation, and one that's really. I would say, honestly, during the course of my coaching career, has kind of traveled that long and winding road from when I came into the league. The specialists, first of all, there were no long snappers, but the specialists, the kickers and the punters, were frequently position players, and that's where they came from in college as well. So a lot of the good college punters and place kickers also played a position. And then as time evolved, starting with like Gogolak and guys like that, they specialized in kicking. And then you had, some of the punters that specialized in punters. So players like Danny White and Tom Tupa.
Well, quarterbacks used to hold the kick for the field goal unit.
Yeah.
Did you like the Beatles song "Long Winding Road"?
No, I don't like that song. It's for a few reasons, but pretty much
guys like that who were very good position players, became Gino Cappelletti. That evolved into specialists because of I would say the importance of the kicking game and the number of plays that the kicking game and opportunities that it provided. Same thing with returners. They're very
Fair.
I
Yes.
think one of the
I had a Woody earlier. It's gone now.
Yeah. So he's very good at that. So he's dry though. That's the thing. His interest level. You see how dry his interest is once he does get going on interest level. This is his level of excitement. This is the most excited you'll ever see the man.
the long snapping to me changed in the mid 80s, and really the key guy in that was Diassi, in my opinion, because Steve was the first center that really truly allowed a spread punt formation against the all-out rush.
I'm all about
prior to
spread
that,
formations. Not what he's talking about. Though. I love spread formations.
teams would generally pull. First of all, there wasn't that many gunners, but when teams started using gunners,
damn.
Well, they got a Gunnar Olszewski is on special teams for the Pats.
they
Just
would
saying.
pull one in and kick away
There's a
from
gunner.
the free guy on the backside.
Backside.
And that was kind of the idea of the protection, was not to let the snapper
Definitely
block
wants this. It's just throwing on
against a 9-man rush with a split player. So
split.
This is not okay.
the return team would have one guy on
Jesus.
the split and one guy return. So you got 9 guys rushing against.
What is Zudi apps now?
I have no idea. I'll look it up.
Punter who wasn't.
I'm fully aware what
the guy who
Dunkin'
wasn't a
Donuts
blocker,
is.
and the snapper who really.
Oh, they
wasn't a
got
blocker, so it was
Dunkin'
9
and
on 8,
Gillette.
and the idea was to block the most
I
dangerous.
love the word snap too. Anyway,
Okay.
8 and let the 9th guy go and punt away from him, and then
9th guy. Okay.
Speaking of Gillette, is that like the
Cowboy.
razor? Because if they're like sponsoring like stadiums, they're charging way too much for razors, man. Like for real, dude.
I agree. I think they charge too much.
I don't want any chicks with the 9th guy in the conversation. Just saying.
So so Zudi apps now. Zudi is app. It's like web development. It's an app development kit basically that they give for enterprise level app development. It's kind of some heady up there stuff in the app development world.
always went to the spread punt, and then the Cardinals followed that pretty quickly, and they kept 2 gunners split, and the snapper blocked a guy. Then that created an 8-on-8 situation, but put a lot of pressure on the snapper to deliver the ball 15 yards deep on the money.
Speaking of
still block a
snappers,
good rusher
in the Super
and
Bowl,
offset
did you see the holder mess up that extra point?
Yeah, actually, I did.
That could have been critical.
And that's one of those moments where you see the point of having a long snapper and the specialization. Which
That
Belichick does touch upon here.
That actually fucked a lot of bettors because that would have made it a 4-point game, I believe, instead of a 3. If I'm correct on that.
Jeff,
Seen
you're gay. Shut up.
offensive line have trouble making that block on a pass play, and so now you're talking about a deep snap and
I love
block.
deep snap.
As players got better at that, and that skill became more, I would say, players became more efficient at that, then teams decided to carry a long snapper rather than worry about getting a punt block. Plus,
always need a long
it was
snapper.
also the level of consistency and durability with those players. So if you lose a position player who's also a long snapper, you're looking at some real problems.
I love long snapper.
And that evolved into the punters, for the most part, becoming holders.
What if you lose your long snapper?
So, and that came up. That's come up before, actually. That came up. Pittsburgh had their long snapper taken out. They ended up putting in James Harrison, and James Harrison just totally muffed it. Ended up being a safety because he just totally botched the snap. Yeah, so it's happened before. It's rare because they're a low contact position. I think most frequently it really is that running downfield after the punt where they're most likely to get hurt with the current rule set.
What was the trick play in the Super Bowl? Was that Joe Mixon that threw that ball to somebody in the end zone? First career pass, and he throws it for a touchdown in the Super Bowl?
I believe so, but it really is pretty off topic, Jeff.
Yeah, I know. I'm just thinking now.
Okay.
A wide
I
receiver.
should write
a
notes
quarterback
next
being
year.
older, which again you don't see very much of that anymore.
I'm just thinking like guys who do other
Assuming the
positions.
punter is
Oh, I see.
capable and good enough,
Hey,
has
Karen,
good
you
chance
can
to be a
live on
holder.
Facebook?
Yeah, this is live on Facebook.
And so then that kind of whole unit has really evolved.
Yeah, stop calling me gay. We're gonna get
A
censored.
specified snapper, a specified kicker, a specific punter, and generally the punter as the holder. So the three of those guys can work together all practice because they're all available. And again, going back to when I first came into the league, you worked on field goals, and I mean it was maybe 5 minutes because
Speaking of field goal kickers, McPherson last night for the Bengals sat and watched the whole halftime show. He didn't even go in the locker room.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
I would want to. I would want to do that. I thought about that before. It's like, what players could get away with that? So that's the answer. Special teams, I guess. Because it's like, what strategy you take to the kicker?
Yeah, just don't
Make
miss
sure
a
you
field
make
goal
that
later
kick.
on.
Yeah.
are available to practice that.
Well,
So,
Buffalo Bills special team.
like, is it that hard?
Offense.
It's a pretty hard job. Yeah, it's a pretty hard job. It's not as hard as it used to be because you're not allowed to hit the center, especially on field goals and run them over. And there are some limitations on the punt rush based on what the formation is and so forth. But generally speaking, but still, it's a hard block to and I think you see most punt rushes attack the snapper. So they loop guys back, so the center thinks he's going right, but then he has to come back to the left, or maybe they fake like they're coming back, but they don't come back. So he not only has to snap, and so then that gets into whether you're a blind snapper.
So sorry, guys.
You're a look back snapper and snap it, and then after the snap, you have to look up.
Yeah, that was my blunder. I'm going to back that up about 10 seconds there for everybody.
So then that gets into whether you're a blind snapper and you look at the rush and just snap the ball, or whether you're a look back snapper and snap it, and then after the snap, you have to look up and recognize what's happened and make the proper block. But again, it's man-to-man blocking. Like, that guy's got to block somebody, or you're a guy short. So
do you think he dreams about X's and O's like 24/7?
I pretty much, yeah. I mean, because this is the kind of thing that he thinks about his hobby. That's what you touched upon when he got asked this. This is the kind of stuff he follows because he's known to be a historian of the sport too. And so that's really all he'll talk about, it seems like, is if you get him going on this.
The accuracy of the.
Do you remember the draft where he had his dog sitting at his table and he was the only draft room by himself? Well, he had his draft room
during COVID. You mean during COVID?
Yeah, the 2020 draft.
Just sitting by himself, and that was his draft room. It was amazing. It was incredible.
Can you imagine the power he has? He's the coach and the GM, and picks who he wants to play for him.
I know.
Yeah. And I saw this too.
The owner's not even there with them. Like, he just has full control of whatever.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is he approaches it like the mind of an economist too. He has an economist degree. He has a degree in economics from Wayland University. So the mindset, because that's really teaching a mindset more than anything else. It's use of limited resources. And so that's kind of the mindset he's approaching to this. So.
No.
Kickers through the years, which has gone up dramatically. Part of that's the surface, part of that's the not kicking out.
Man, this sucks.
It sucks. You were fine 2 minutes ago till you got told you were being too salty.
Part of it is the operation between the snapper, the holder, and the kicker, which I would say, generally speaking, is at a pretty high level.
It's awful to listen to him talk, you think?
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to bed.
That was kind of the point here too. It was just like,
that wasn't the case. You see balls rolling back, and
he's still going. He's still going.
Can you imagine taking a college class from him? I'd be asleep in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, he's just so he's so monotone.
Can you imagine being his child too? And now Stevens works with him.
Jeff, I'm going to bed. Parent, I'm going to bed. You two enjoy.
Okay, bye, Paul.
There's a decent amount of pressure.
I want to see you
We
get on this
literally
hot
lost
tub
our
and freeze
Bills
your
fan.
ass off.
I muted him so that way we don't have to
As
hear
I
all
said,
his
to,
like messing around.
block
There's
and
Paul's
punt
bald
return.
head though.
So, as the roster
Bald
sizes have
head,
increased, it's been a
Paul.
lot easier to carry that player. It looks like it's a lot easier to carry a true returner. And so, in terms of depth and availability, you really don't want to be looking for one of those players in the middle of any time, middle of the game or middle of the season. But when you have him as a starting receiver or a starting, Luke Rosa, starting tackle, or whoever, those guys, and they're playing, and something happens, not only you lose a player, but you lose a
You know the guy
specialist
who
as
asked
well.
this question is like, why the fuck did I even ask this question?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
great question.
well,
And,
at the same time,
there would
he
be
like
so much
hit
value in
the
a player that could do a
hit
couple
the
of things and
lottery.
save a roster spot. But I would say there are so few of those players available, even to the point where, Amendola did a great job last week, but it's so rare that you even see a combination punter and place kicker. Usually it's one or the other. And I think part of that is, at one level, it's I'll say relatively easy to put your foot on the ball. But at this level, the difference in kicking mechanics and punting mechanics are so different that it's really hard to be good at both. But if a guy's got a good leg and he's a good athlete,
Perry, I was the kicker on my JV team in high school for a couple games.
High school,
Kicking is not an
college.
easy thing. Punting or kicking is not easy at all. So,
And you heard him say putting the foot on the ball is relatively easy. I think he was saying relatively easy in the context of the NFL ball. He said relatively easy, and I think he's comparing it to like quarterbacking and other positions in the league.
But these guys like kick the ball 60 yards sometimes. I mean, that's amazing.
So that's what we're saying. Putting the foot on the ball, sure, but consistently and accurately is a different story.
And they actually
to get it to where you want it to be.
To spiral it, to aim it out of bounds, to aim it to an end zone, to keep it going from going in the end zone. I mean, it is a specialty position.
Yeah, the long snap is So let's let him.
Maybe it's good enough. Maybe he's the best guy on the team to do that. But I'd say at this level, that's pretty. That will be asking a lot. Now, like Jake can punt, Jake can kick off. Jake can kick field goals. To be at the kind of level you want it to be at, to have the person split their time between the two of those, again, I think is, a lot to ask. It's not, I'm not saying it's impossible or unheard of, but it's a lot to ask. And that's why you don't see it very much. That's a good question. It's really interesting.
It's a good question. It's really
interesting of those positions over the last, since I've been in the league, but even a little bit before then, because that's really where it started to go, was in the late 60s.
So you even had a little more there.
Was the first or one of the first where that trend really started to, okay, we're just going to keep a guy and all he does is kick, Premian, guys like that. That's all they did. It was a little bit unusual, but gradually that's become the new norm.
Thank you, Bill. That was as thorough and in-depth as I had hoped it would be, so thank you.
No, you're welcome, Ben. Thanks for the question.
Holy crap.
So we had, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Holy crap. The dude just 10 straight minutes on one question. And you got the entire history of the long snap position in those 10 minutes out of Bill Belichick. Any thoughts as a Miami Dolphins fan? This is an AFC show. That was an AFC's coach. Any thoughts that you have, Jeff? I mean, I think you heard. You were able to interject a bit too.
We've had some special team players that were great with London Mare, Reggie Roby, but those are to me more skilled players than a long snapper.
The long snapper. Yeah.
But you don't get those field goals, you don't get those punts unless your long snapper can block. But this is, years ago. But nowadays, like you said, you can't go at the center. You can't tip him over. So, but to waste the position on it, rather than just use your regular center to do it. To me, here's the difference. When you're as a center in the normal offensive scheme, you're either under center or you're doing shotgun. So repetition, repetition, repetition. So you're either like putting it right up under your crotch to the quarterback's hands, or you're playing shotgun. To long snap that ball, what is it, 10 yards? They snap it 10, 13 yards. That's a totally different mechanic than a normal hike during an offensive play. So
it's about 15 yards on the punt. Yeah.
I kind of get it. I kind of get it. But damn, them long snappers get paid and play like what, 5 games or 5 plays a game? You know what I'm saying? Like the Buffalo Bills didn't even punt that one game against you guys. You know what I'm saying? So the long snapper just sat there and, okay, all I got to do is like kick a snap for extra points, you know, like.
Yeah.
Billy broke a sweat and got paid.
Well, yeah, and that's what they say. They make about 1.1 million a year is like the average for that 5-year deal for them, and so not 5 per season after they're 5 years in. So what you end up seeing there is what I've been told is to be a long snapper, you got to fall in love with the monotony of the job, the monotony of just chasing that perfect snap.
What you should have done is after you had his film is look up snaps that gone wrong by long snappers.
I mean, we can.
Like the shit that goes over their head or goes in the end zone for a safety. And this is why the long snapper makes what he makes, because there's a lot of times, even throughout a normal season, that there's mess ups. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's the punter not paying attention or the, but I bet there's one on there. There's got to be muffed.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Here you go. Here's Dolphins Patriots.
Wasn't ready for it.
Right over his head or right through his arms. Yep.
Breakdown on communication.
That was also, Tannehill wasn't expecting it. That wasn't a long snapper either, but still, I mean, that's that snap stuff. Shotgun. A lot of this seems like it's shotgun snaps, but still. And then you just take that and enunciate it, though, when you go back another 10 yards past to the shotgun snap on a punt. The problem's just enunciated further, though. That's some echo.
Yep.
That's the cast itself.
Remember that, Peyton? Man, I remember that. Oh, over his head.
Whoops. Oh, a high snap off his shoulder. And now Wilson just trying to get it away. And wide open.
Oh, he turned that around.
And Lockett is inside the 20. And Tyler Lockett gets slung down at the 4-yard line. So a broken play, a snap that gets away, and Wilson makes the most of it.
Absolutely unbelievable.
Okay.
Difference. And watch the fact that
there's an example where they actually managed to salvage it.
This is through his hands. Into the end zone. It's loose. It's loose. It's loose and out of the back of the end zone.
Safety, man. He's got lucky that wasn't a touchdown. Yep. But, yeah, I think everybody gets the idea there. That's got a bit left of that video. But so, that's what happens when snaps go wrong. But you take that and you put that back for the punt, and it's just like really it's a problem if they miss it. And it's like 4 or 5 plays a game that you need that guy, and you need him to do one job, and you need him to do it consistently every time. And it's this monotonous job where you just do one task, and that's it. But you can have long careers. A lot of guys are lasting a long time.
Can you imagine training camp? That's all you do is long snap.
Yeah,
for hours on end. Like,
yeah.
Have you ever been to a training camp? I went to a training camp a couple times actually. I went and saw the Panthers. I went to the Panthers up in South Carolina, and you have like the offense does their thing, defense does their thing. And you got the special teams guys, and all they do is like kick, hike, hold. You know what I'm saying? It's just the craziest, like.
Yeah, it's just do that for hours on end.
Yeah, but a 3-point, field goal or an extra point can cost your team a win or a loss.
Yeah,
that's how important it is.
I mean, the Patriots have won a couple Super Bowls based on just one kick. So, Yeah. So, anyhow, I'm going to wrap this up, but thanks to everybody for watching this special edition of the AFC East. We're closing it out. I just wanted to do that little special.